Welcome to a special episode from Lucore Automotive and our friends Performance Research and Tim's Enthusiast Garage. This is going to be an experience you're not going to want to miss. You all have seen this vehicle before. It's my 1994 940 Volvo Wagon. I bought it for $2,500. It's been a nice, reliable daily driver. What I was looking for specifically was something that I could drive, not have to worry about maintaining it. If something does break, it's easy to find parts for, inexpensive. Also, it's something I'm not going to probably modify. As a hot rodder by nature, modification is something we do quite often. This one I could pretty much leave alone. At this point in time, the only thing I've ever done to it is wheels and tires. As you can see in previous videos, safety is a concern. Unfortunately, I ended up buying another set of tires for those wheels and tires, but that's another story. So as luck would have it, I had two other people that were involved in buying new cars, well, new old cars, at exactly the same time. So, came up with this harebrained idea. We all paid essentially the same thing for these cars, $2,500. What if we did a road trip? What if we did a $2,500 car challenge? No. What if we did a $2,500, 2,500 mile road trip? So find ourselves somewhere that's 1,250 miles away from Columbus, Ohio, so we can go there and get back, hopefully. Well, we did that. Armed with our road atlas from Rand McNally, we found ourselves a spot to go. We're headed to Mount Rushmore. We're doing this in 3 used cars we all spent $2,500 a piece on. What could possibly go wrong? So, as I was the one to come up with this harebrained idea, I guess I'm going to be team number 1. So, team number 1, 1994 940 Volvo Wagon Turbo. As I said, it's a pretty simple car. You guys have seen it before. It's a 940 wagon. It's got 185,000 miles on it, powered by a 2.3 turbo, 4-speed automatic tow package. All the options essentially work. Air conditioning, radio is terrible, but it works. Powered heated seats, all that stuff works. They're very simple cars. This era was before a whole lot of the other crazy stuff. Pretty simple to repair, reliable vehicle. Nothing I'm really worried about. We've got brand new tires underneath this guy, and I think it's going to treat me pretty well. Now, going with me on this road trip, I'll introduce you to the other teams. Well, if you've watched any of our videos previously with any of our engine building, over at Performance Research we have our engine builder Joe Coben, and he is also going on this interesting road trip with us, and you're bringing this monumental thing.
Yes, it's a large vehicle. I bought this for $2,500. This is a 2004 GMC Yukon Denali XL, which means it's really long. I bought it from the original owner. It has almost 300,000 miles on it. The transmission was replaced last year, and as far as I know, it's been taken care of well by the previous owner. But miles are miles, and miles happens to be the nickname for this truck. So
pretty clean truck though for $2,500. I mean, this was.
I think it was a pretty decent score. It looks better than it did when I got it because it had the factory wheels and tires on it. They're 17-inch and the tires were shot. So I got a deal on these wheels and tires for about the same amount of money as it would have cost me to put new tires on the original wheels that were on the truck to begin with. So
yeah, that's not really cheating because I did the same thing on my Volvo. I could buy wheels and tires for the same amount of money as I could buy tires.
Right.
Mine blew up in my face when I blew up another wheel or tire.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't expensive.
Right. But it's a good idea. In this case, if you can find a set of used tires and wheels, you're going to spend basically as much or less than you would just for a new set of tires.
Yeah, I think it looks cooler. I mean,
it totally upgrades the look of it.
At first I thought maybe it looked a little ghetto, but it's really not grown on me. The chrome I thought was a bit much, but anyway. Yes, so not only are we driving these vehicles more like 2,800 miles now,
right,
because we're
adding a little detour.
We're going to take some detours. We're not staying in any hotels. We're going to sleep in our vehicles. That's where I've got the advantage because this thing is as long as a limo. And the rear seat, it's got 3 rows of seats. The third row comes out completely, and the second 2 bucket seats fold down flat. So this thing pretty much inside turns into about an 8-foot truck bed once you flatten out all the seats. And on top of that, because it's a Denali and it's got every single option you could possibly ever want, it has a DVD player in the ceiling.
And you have rear air conditioning.
And I have rear air conditioning, yes. It has air conditioning for the front, and then it has air conditioning ducts that go through the ceiling in the back, which I will definitely be using that.
I'm a little worried about that. I will also, because I have a wagon, I will also be sleeping on an air mattress in the back of my wagon. But I'm on 1994 Volvo air conditioning that is not 100%, and I'm a little sketched out that it's not going to work, and I may die of heat.
We might have to bunk together.
It has been joked about how this whole sleeping arrangement is going to work. So anyway,
it's got 300,000 miles on it. Check engine light is on. It does say service air ride system. This has an air ride system where if you put a load on the back of it, it has air shocks that will adjust so that the truck doesn't ever squat. It stays the same height in the back. That doesn't work anymore. It threw a code for O2 sensors, but we're not going to worry about those. There were things wrong with this thing when I bought it, and actually almost none of the gauges worked. The speedo works, the tachometer does not work. The oil pressure works like about 50% of the time. I figure if it's not working, it reads 0. So from driving and I have 0 oil pressure, and a few minutes go by and I don't start hearing any noise, I'm just going to assume that it's the gauge that isn't working.
right. You're going to know if it's got 0 oil pressure sooner than later.
Right. Fuel gauge does not work, but it does have in the dash a range. So it'll say you fill it up, but it tells you got 400 and some miles of range. That is accurate. And when you get down to around 25 miles left of range, the alarm does still kick on to tell you that you have low fuel, even though the fuel needle is pointing straight down.
So your range is 450 miles?
I don't know.
Ish?
I don't know. I mean, it all depends. Like when I took a mini road. It took a 500-mile road trip in this thing to Kentucky last weekend. And when I was driving on the freeway, it was telling me about 440 miles is the range. I don't know how accurate it is. Yeah, that's another drawback of this vehicle, that it does not get good gas mileage. It does not. It weighs almost 6,000 pounds. It has a 6-liter LQ4 LS motor in it, iron block. It's a great motor, a 4L65E automatic transmission, and it's all-time all-wheel drive, which I hated at first, but it's really nice. Like, it actually works really well. But it probably would get better gas mileage if I had the ability to turn the front axles off and just run the rear end.
Right.
But we'll see. When we get on the freeway, we can get some legitimate, fuel mileage numbers, but I don't think it's going to get much better than like 16 miles a gallon, even on the freeway, which sucks. So there is going to be, I'm sacrificing the comfort for.
You're hauling your own apartment with you.
Yeah, it's a mobile home almost.
So there you go. Here is Team 2, Joe Coben from Performance Research, with his 2004 GMC Denali Extra Large.
Extra large, yes. And we've been joking around, God forbid this happens, but if one of us were to break down, and hopefully it isn't me, we could rent a U-Haul trailer and I could technically haul another vehicle, as long as this truck doesn't break down.
This one breaks down.
If this one breaks down, we got problems. Because nobody can move it.
I don't know that my Volvo is going to be able to tow this.
No one can tow this. So,
all right, get her done. See you in the morning.
Yeah.
Let's go meet Team 3. Well, to complete our road trip 3 horsemen process here, we've already got the European station wagon, which is your reliable, responsible vehicle. We've got the big old American truck with a big old American V8 in it. We needed something different. And there's nobody around here that we can lean on better than Tim of Tim's Enthusiast Garage. If you've seen any of his product, you know he's into some interesting rides. He's got Japanese stuff, he's got European stuff. We knew he'd be able to come up with something interesting for our 2,500 mile, $2,500 road trip challenge, and he has certainly done that. So let's talk to Tim and introduce you to what he thinks is going to be a great thing to drive for this incredibly long, very difficult drive.
A couple weeks ago, and I'm not kidding, I mean a couple weeks ago, my friend Austin said, hey, we should get $2,500 cars and drive them 2,500 miles. That's a great idea, I said. Then it actually, Tuesday, I find myself on Craigslist, and I found this, which a picture will now appear on your screen with me talking over top of the picture. Questionable decisions were made. I'm now going to attempt to drive this R129 500 SL, 2,500 miles, and yes, I did pay $2,500 for it. I think it's a pretty good deal.
It's a good deal right now.
We're going to find out how good of a deal it was. If the next thing on the screen is me on the side of the road, bad decision. The good news is he's in a Volvo. I'm pretty reasonably sure that is going to make it. He's got a buddy who I've never met who has also bought a $2,500 car. It's a Tahoe.
Yeah, Denali XL.
That can tow things, but it was $2,500. What? Why? Why did we do this? Why did we do this?
The big scary thing is, I can tow you, he could tow you, he could tow me. Neither of us can tow him.
I've never met him. If it's the Denali that breaks, what's his name?
Joe.
Joe. Don't watch this until after the thing. In fact, if you're still watching now, Joe, stop and then watch after. But we're leaving you. I'm not vested. I never met you. I'm gonna leave you like $100 and be like, peace. No, I wouldn't do that. This is gonna be fun.
All right, let's take a look at this Mercedes and walk me through this thing.
Well, I'm gonna walk you through it.
Let's walk through it.
92 500 SL. I already have one of these cars, but in order to really do the thing here, I decided I didn't want to say I bought this car for $2,500. Right. This is 100% truth. In fact, a special treat for you. The guy who I bought it from is coming here to get, just if there's any doubters, to get the $2,500 right now. So that'll actually be part of this. $2,500. It is a double overhead cam. 5-liter V8 is actually one of the first. It's a mechanical fuel injection, variable valve timing, so pretty advanced for the era, but also it's one of those drivetrains that for this mark has been proven over the years to be pretty bulletproof. This car actually has 150,000 miles. My other one that I already owned prior to this, I've owned for 7 years, 8 years, has 90,000 miles. This came with a full service history from almost day one, and they were pretty good about taking care of it. Now, it hasn't driven significantly in the last year. It's driven a few miles here and there, but hasn't been on the road much. But I drove it home last night, and I'm willing to drive it to the Badlands because I'm just that stupid.
So, parts availability if we run into problems in rural Iowa, South Dakota.
Yeah, well,
can you fix this on the side of the road?
No offense to anyone that lives there, but probably if it's European, that's a problem in general. Parts availability for these are pretty good.
Okay.
Mechanically, physically, these are not. There's a lot of physical parts that aren't available for it cosmetically. But yeah, mechanical stuff. It's shared with a lot of other Mercedes. I mean, obviously, if a fuel pump goes bad, we can probably get it. And we can probably change it. If the fuel distributor goes bad, which would be almost unheard of, but we're host.
Okay.
It's coming back on the Denali, if that's the case.
We're renting a trailer.
Yeah. But the tires are about 10 years old, which everyone who's watched the Paul Walker story would say don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
They look pretty good. They're not too dry rotted. I'm confident in their ability. I've checked the spare. It has one. It has air.
Does it have a hole in it?
Has the toolkit. There's no hole in the spare.
Good.
You have recent experience. Yeah. Probably wouldn't have checked if it hadn't been.
If you haven't seen that, I would probably watch this video.
And what else? Everything works, cruise, AC. Came with a hard top. I took the hard top off because I fully intend to have the top down potentially the whole time because I fear no skin cancer. Just kidding. SPF and a hat. It's going to happen. I will show you what happens after 150,000 miles, and that is mostly cosmetic things fall apart.
Sure.
So let's look at that. The paint from this era is pretty good, and it's held up all right on this car. The door handles are this kind of ashy plastic, which I'm sure I've never had one break, but they look kind of disgusting. And then the interior is pretty rough on this car. Many things are going to have to be done were I to decide to keep it and make it great again. Particularly the veneer has failed on this. This this seat switch no longer functions properly. In fact, luckily memory number 1 suits me, because when you hit the move it forward, let's see if we can demonstrate. Yes. Moving it forward actually moves it back and sometimes doesn't work at all. So that is a problem. All the wood is kind of giving up the ghost, but it's sat outside a lot. The steering wheel is kind of disgusting. So, you know, those sorts of things. Get a load of that light switch. That's pretty disgusting too. Yeah, that's done. But everything else, you know, like that's a nice. I mean, for a convertible, that's a nice sound for a convertible. I feel like a salesman. So come on down. No,
we're dealing.
Yeah, they did put Michelins on it about 2 years ago. I say they're old and yucky. I mean, they're not like super dry rotted or anything like that. But the time stamp. A lot of times. Here's a pro tip. When you go to buy tires, particularly from local shops, check the date code on the tires, because a lot of these shops will like stock sort of similar size tires. This particular tire size, you know, I'm sure Michelin didn't sell a million of them. And so someone had stocked these, sold them to these people a few years ago, and they were already a few years old when they bought them. So, I don't know, something worth mentioning in the educational portion of our 25, because, you know, what we're really trying to do is educate people to know that you should immediately buy a $2,500 car and drive it 2,500 miles across the United States. But, you know, like, it's for 2,500 bucks, right? Right? I mean, come on, right?
And it's green.
And I love green. I do this thing called Motor Vice. Motor Vice is like an 80s and 90s themed show, like a car show. This is like rad. So like, I was thinking, worst case scenario, I'll give it away at Motor Vice. That probably isn't gonna happen, but I'll sell it at Motor Vice.
There you go. Well, there you go. Now you understand what we're getting ourselves into. We've got myself in my 940 Turbo Volvo wagon. We've got Joe in his GMC Yukon Denali. We've got Tim in his Teutonic Germanic, we'll call it muscle car. You couldn't find 3 more dissimilar vehicles to make a road trip in. It should be interesting. Hopefully you guys enjoy coming along for us. Now, we've also created an Instagram account, 2500 Road Trip, in order to keep you guys all informed about what we're doing. We're putting this video out as a short little teaser so you guys can come along with us on this road trip. If you enjoy this, make sure you click on subscribe. Always drop us a comment, leave us a like. We'll see you out there on the road.